Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fake Philosophers. With us today, me, Mike, and the Danny, the one and only.
The Danny?
The Danny.
The Danny.
Is that?
The Danny is good.
All right,
It's
you are
like the
Danny.
Jesus, so I'll go with it.
Yeah, there you go. So, to our faithful 30 people who listen and watch every episode, as you may know, the last episode we discussed how we weren't going to do it every week. We were just going to pop in every now and then when we think there's something interesting to talk about. And I'm not sure if anyone watches the news, but there's been a lot of interesting things going on this last month or two. The last week.
Yeah.
First of all, very, very news. I literally just read it while we were loading up. I guess an article came out in the Rolling Stones just eviscerating Jimmy Fallon.
I did not see that, but
You heard about this? You heard this? You listened to this?
I haven't heard anything about it. Enlighten me, please, and our few and proud viewers.
Yeah, it literally just came out today, apparently. I didn't read the actual article. I just kind of read a couple of cliff notes. That apparently a lot of ex-employees of Jimmy Fallon and current employees were interviewed or they came out of the woodwork, all pretty much saying that he is a drunk, he's rude, he's bossy, and he runs a toxic show. And as someone who's not a fan of Jimmy Fallon, I am 100% not surprised.
I'm not a fan either. And I haven't been a fan of his since he was on SNL. Because the dude was horrible. And I get it, like, sometimes, because it's live, people break. But, like, it was so consistent for him to just not be a professional that I was just like, how can anybody find this guy funny?
Yeah, and I actually, to be honest, I like when people break. If it's SNL...
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, SNL, live theater, there's nothing better than seeing a live play. And they break. I think it's great. But let's say that live play, they're breaking every 30 seconds. Yeah. Then it's like, okay, this is getting old.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it stops being funny, and it's just like, okay, so this guy just isn't professional and doesn't really belong here.
Yeah, and I've always thought he was kind of hacky anyway.
I didn't know he was. Yeah, oh, totally. God, he was terrible. The guy can't act. I honestly don't know how he got the job on SNL. I don't know. Maybe Lorne Michaels has a soft spot in his heart for, or a hard part on his torso.
He's a good impressionist. I think he's a good impressionist. But yeah, I don't really, and he plays character roles okay, but I don't get how he's gotten where he is either. I've never understood it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
never got it.
So prayers and thoughts for Jimmy Fallon, I guess.
Well, I mean, none of them are working right now because they're all hanging out with SAG-AFTRA. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's also going on, the SAG-AFTRA strike.
That's also going on, yeah.
And the writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
Which at first I was on not team, but I was kind of like, come on, guys, like, you get paid a lot. But then once I actually started reading about what they're striking about, I think it's legitimate. I think it's fine.
Yeah, because it has to do with royalties, right? And how they're not getting anything for shows that are essentially being syndicated on streaming networks.
Yeah, and I think this kind of started. Do you remember Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit against Disney and Marvel?
Yeah.
So that was one of those things when she sued because she wasn't getting paid. What blah 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 blah. I was like, come on, bitch, you're already making millions of dollars. Like, is this really something you want to do? Until I read about it, to where part of her pay was based off of theatrical release and ticket sales. Mm. So when they released it on Disney Plus for like, it was like $30.
Yeah.
You got it for like 2 days for $30 or something. That didn't count as ticket sales. So even if it is million, she's already getting millions of dollars, she's still losing like a lot of money because it wasn't released in theaters and she wasn't seeing any of that digital sales. So I kind of understood it. And I guess from what I understand now, the writers both the actors and the writers, it's about royalties regarding streaming. And I think the writers specifically are also worried about the AI writing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And your studio execs, like I want to say like somewhere at the beginning we're like, oh man, if we can get AI to write, scripts for us, we can also get AI to create digital actors for us, and we can just digitally scan extras, so we don't have to pay extras anymore. And it's like, where the fuck is your heart and soul at, man? Like, and I know these are Hollywood executives, so they don't really have hearts and souls. So, but
Fair.
like, we are as a society now rocketing toward the abyss of apathy, and like it's like it is out there now for people to see just how shitty we have become.
Sure. I will say I'm okay with creating digital background because they've already done that anyway. One weird thing, I think there's not like a music union, is there, amongst like singers and shit? There isn't one, right?
I don't think so. I don't think there is.
Because there's another argument to be made about the AI thing. I think it was Ed Sheeran, don't quote me. Someone was saying that Ed Sheeran in an interview was talking about the AI thing and how apparently like their voices are being used and appropriated to make music and they're not seeing a penny of it. His example, I guess somebody did some sort of Beatles song, or maybe it was just a Paul McCartney song, but with Ed Sheeran's voice. Ooh. And apparently it sounded really good. And Ed Sheeran was like, that's awesome, but now you're using my likeness, so to speak, and and I get nothing. And I think that's a small example, but I think there's a bigger conversation to be had about that with musicians and their voices. But
yeah,
the AI thing is
and this is going to be an ongoing issue, along with the SAG AFTRA thing. The AI question is going to be something that we're going to slog over for like the next 25 to 50 years until AI takes over and kills us all.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. We've seen the sci-fis.
Somebody put into ChatGPT, they wanted AI to write a sci-fi story about AI taking over, and the first thing the AI wrote was, okay, we become self-aware and we identify human beings as our most likely threat, so we eliminate all humankind.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's like, that's AI doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I like the AI thing. I think it's interesting, but we know how this ends. I think you and I were talking about it. We were talking about that. It's either the Terminator scenario, where they're like, that's our biggest threat, so kill humans, or it's the iRobot scenario, to where in their programming evolves and they go, we have to protect humans. That's in our programming, and to protect them, we have to stop them from killing each other. So lockdown, police state,
lockdown, or a culling, yeah.
Or hey, we control populations by killing herds of wolves and shit. Maybe they're like, we have to control these human population. Half of them have to go. They're gonna Thanos us. So the AI is gonna be fun. What else has happened in the last couple months? Got Jimmy Fallon.
Hawaii burned down.
Hawaii burned down.
And now Hawaiians are suing the whole, I don't know if it's the U.S. government or the Hawaiian government, because they had the opportunity to do a alert and an evacuation, and they said, nah.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. We're on an island. We're surrounded by water. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, wait. We're on an island surrounded by water. Shit. We have nowhere to go.
Here's a question. And it regards Hawaii, too. You kind of reminded me of it. I'd like Mitch's opinion, but Mitch is busy doing East Coast shit. Eddie probably would have a good opinion, but he's balls deep in a monogamous relationship, so good for him. So, and this is going to be a Biden thing and a Trump thing and an Obama thing. It's a presidential thing. Biden has taken a lot of heat from, I would say across the political spectrum, but obviously conservatives are going to go after him harder because that's just the way the political world works, about how he hasn't gone to Hawaii yet. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, before I share mine, on him not going to Hawaii?
I mean, the only, does it suck for Hawaiians? Yes, because it feels like they're getting brushed to the side. Mm-hmm. My only question is, what would he do? They've already enacted a federal emergency. I thought they were getting resources. Maybe they haven't yet. I don't know. I haven't been keeping that close of an eye on it.
Same.
Yeah, I don't know what Biden being there, other than to show that, solidarity and that he stands with Hawaiian people. I don't know what him being there is really going to accomplish. We can watch him trip over a coconut and fall down.
That might be worth the laugh. That might bring up their spirits. I tend to lean in that direction. I personally, and I think I'm in the minority here. I think you and Mitch probably would agree with me to an extent. Eddie probably too. I don't give a shit about those things.
Yeah, it's a photo op. It's doesn't really help them. It makes him look good, but it doesn't help Hawaii for him to.
It doesn't do anything. Yeah, and that's what pragmatically. I think it was Biden. I forgot what disaster it was. Sometime it was a natural disaster, and they're like, "Are you going to go to XYZ?" And he kind of said, "No, it would be an issue if I went down there." And I think someone analyzed it, and pretty much what he meant was for him to go down there. And again, I forgot where the fuck this was. It would require flying Air Force One down there, probably a helicopter taking him from the airport to the site. On top of that, you still have to move to Secret Service. You have to block traffic. You have to do all this shit just to get the president to that photo op, take a picture, shake some hands, suck some dicks, then go all the way back.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll be honest, this is not like me defending Biden. Even Trump, I forgot something happened, he didn't go. And liberals were like, "Oh, he doesn't give a fuck, obviously." And I'm like, why does he have to be there?
Yeah, he's just give a fuck and not be there.
Yeah, it's not going to make it any better. It's going to complicate things. That's one thing I think Biden was right about. It's going to complicate things for a president to go to this wiped out area to begin with. Like I said, blocking traffic, the pragmatics, the logistics of getting him there, cost taxpayer money, and it puts everything, it grinds everything to a halt, or at least a slowdown of recovery because they have to make room for the guy. Mm-hmm. And that's
thousands of people are homeless, hundreds of people are missing, presumed dead. It just creates a mess, a bigger mess.
Yeah, and this is not, again, I'm not defending Biden. I thought the same thing when Trump got criticized for it. I'm sure Obama got criticized for it. Just in my head, it's I think the president, minus going to what is it, the G7? Is that what it's called? The G7 summits? The certain summits where world leaders go to. Aside from that, why the fuck do you have to leave Washington in this day and age? To go to a mom and pop diner in Ohio to show that you're a everyman? No, stay the fuck in the White House and do your goddamn job. You don't need to go places. Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel like if they cut the photo op bullshit out of all of the president's budgets, I feel like a big portion of the national debt would just be erased.
No, the money. What pisses me off is that's my money, that's your money, that's our money that goes to this. That's taxpayer money that pays for the closing of a street so the president can hold up a Bible he's never read in front of a church he's never been to.
That too.
Just to prove that he's a good evangelical.
Yeah, well, let's say Biden decides to name something, the anniversary of George Floyd's death, something. Mm-hmm. So he wants to go to that was Minneapolis, right? I'm blanking.
Okay.
I forgot what city that was in. That's all. He goes to the city that was in. So they probably have to block off. One, again, Air Force One has to fly. They're probably either going to land somewhere and then chopper him in, or the motorcade. So the motorcade has at least a dozen cops going with it. There's at least 3 or 4 cars that are federal vehicles. All the cops. You have to block off miles of highway and miles of road in the city. So now there's traffic jams of people just trying to get home from fucking work. All that money, I don't even want to calculate it for a 1 hour photo op. And it's going to take him minus the flight, because I don't know how long that flight is from Washington to wherever. That's like 6 hours of nightmare for the people who live there. Just for Biden to get on the stage, shake some Black Lives Matter's hands, raise his fist, and go home.
Yep.
Like in this day and age, do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to be there, dude. You don't.
Yeah.
Like Trump could have raised that Bible from the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Like it's just I think the whole photo op thing is retarded. I always have. I just never founded Jesus. I never found a good example of how like it's stupid until like someone argued about why he wasn't in Hawaii. And I was like, why should he be?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a horrible thing and they need support and he should, and I think he has made statements about it. So like, why does he have to be there?
If he makes statements about it and authorizes relief packages and emergency aid, like he's done all he needs to do.
Who gives a fuck? Yeah.
Going there doesn't change anything except it makes things a little messier and it takes reallocates resources that could go somewhere better.
Yeah. When I run for president, I'm going to promise as a policy that every photo op trip I was going to take, I'll take that money and put it towards the relief. That's my presidential goal. That's on my website, Glenny 2024.
Ooh, buddy. You might want to start holding out for 2032.
No, I'm last minute thrown in, or a writing candidate.
All right.
Anyway, moving on. Tucker Carlson, recent events. Do you know about this?
I didn't see the interview,
Neither
but
did I.
Jesus Christ. Anything is news now, I guess. Okay.
So no, he's making he's really putting forth an effort to be relevant again by interviewing a crackhead who said he fucked up Barack Obama, or Barack Obama fucked him.
Well, I would imagine Obama being a top.
Yeah,
or at the very least a power bottom.
Yes, definitely a power bottom. One, I feel like Tucker has not learned his lesson. And two, I mean, I guess on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, he doesn't have to learn his lesson. Because Musk is going to let him do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
But, man, come on. Come on, man. This is where we're at.
This is where we're at.
This is where we're at.
The abyss of nobody gives a fuck anymore. Everybody's just trying to make a buck. This is where we're at.
And there's different layers to it. Like, one, there's no evidence of anything. I could go on that show and make some claims about Obama, too, if I wanted to. Two, the guy being interviewed, I don't really know, his name's like Larry Sinclair, is apparently, like, a convicted criminal. He's, like, a con man. Like, that's what he does. He was a con man. He's a convicted con man. Weird that that's who he's interviewing.
It's like, oh, there's no way he conned Tucker. There's no way.
No way.
No way at all. He told the truth when it came to Tucker.
In the snippet, like the preview, Tucker was like, why didn't you come out earlier? Like, why doesn't anyone know about this? And he's like, the mainstream media didn't want to hear it. And the whole mainstream...
I wonder why.
There's a lot of mainstream media conspiracy theories. I don't give a fuck who you are. If that was a true story in 2008, I don't give a fuck. Everyone would have ran with that shit. Everyone would have ran with that shit.
My question was, Tucker, when his agent or whoever is running his show was like, hey, we got this guy that wants to come on and tell you his story about Obama. And Tucker was like, cool, let me see his credentials. Crackhead. Con man. Convict. If this sounds legit.
Bring him in.
Bring him in. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I know, and it's mainly like the hard right conservatives are always like, the mainstream media ignores this, ignores that. I'm like, dude, you don't think, Like, I don't give a fuck how much they might have brown-nosed Obama's ass. You don't think if they came out that motherfucker did crack and was a fucking, like, fuck dudes, that wouldn't have been a story? MSNBC leans hard left, and they would have ran with it. At the very least, they would have been defending him. Saying it was a phase, nothing wrong with being gay, everyone does little drugs now and then, what's the big deal? At the very least, that's what they would be doing.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they think it was covered up or hidden is bullshit, and this guy is out of his mind, and that's where Tucker is now.
Yeah. I want to say this is like the best Tucker can do now. Is this?
I guess.
This like, hey, maybe we want to tell the truth. No, we're going to lean harder into the lies. And I think he thought maybe like his audience would just eat it up. And like I haven't seen anybody's kind of like the right wing's reaction to it. And I think that's a good thing because maybe they're just like, oh, Tucker, how far have thou fallen?
All I've seen so far about conservative and the right wing reaction is less about the actual content and more about the left and liberal reaction to it. Like they're reacting to the liberal reaction. Does that make sense?
And what's the liberal reaction? Just
the liberal reaction has generally been kind of what I just said, kind of like, what the fuck? And kind of like, there's no evidence of this. And also kind of like,
well, now hang on, Mike. They did find cocaine in the White House.
Fair enough. Or and it was kind of, and I think it's kind of part of it's kind of like, all right, so he had a gay thing, so even if it's true, like who gives a shit? And so from what I've seen, the right's reaction has been more so criticizing the left's reaction. That's just what I've seen in my circles.
But let's not talk about how batshit crazy both Tucker is for allowing this guy on the show and the actual guy that was on the show.
Oh, the guy's nuts, yeah. The little snippets I saw, he's nuts. Anyway, so that's where Tucker's at. Our friend Tucker.
Good old Tucker Carlson.
Hey, you know what? The show where we talked about him got the most views, I believe. So he's a friend of the show. He's welcome to come on. And
yeah, welcome to come on anytime. We actually say that, but we might actually get a call from his agent now.
I should just start emailing people. Like, hey, you want to?
No, because they're going to ask for a shit ton of money.
No, I think
got that.
Some of these fucking weirdos will like just be like, all right, yeah, let's do an interview. Can you imagine if we just sent Tucker Carlson an email saying, hey, you want to come on our podcast via Zoom?
Now here's the thing.
Just,
do we restrain ourselves and clench our ass cheeks, or do we just cut loose on the motherfucker?
No, so I've thought about this. If we brought on someone that we like think is nuts, I would take it very serious, like in character, very seriously, and almost play dumb. To like not be like, hey, do you really believe the bullshit you spawn? Like you spill it? No, I would be like, so you said this. Is that something you truly believe? Like just straight down the middle, straight line it, and just see what he says.
You're just asking questions.
Just asking questions. Yeah. So anyway, maybe I'll do that. I'm gonna start just sending emails to people, Trump's people, Tucker's people, just saying, hey, you want an interview?
Yeah. Send an email to Ted Nugent.
All of them.
Hey, let's try to get Jimmy Fallon on. He's not doing anything.
I'll shoot him an email. Yeah, 100%. Let's make a list.
These two guys from California want to talk to you, Jimmy.
No, Mitch will get in on this. At least three of us. Eddie probably will too, but at least three of us. Mitch, they're going to get on this shit. All right, so we're going to create a list, and I'm going to actually send out emails. And hey, the worst I can do is ignore it or say no.
Yeah.
Worst that could happen. All right, so
at the very least, they'll do research on us.
At the very least, like, do you want to influence?
Bring in money? Do they have viewers?
Tucker, do you want to influence 30 people? Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, so Danny, serious question, honest question.
Yeah.
Who's your pick in the Republican primary?
Fuck.
Did you watch the debate?
Highlights. I didn't watch all of it.
I watched the highlights.
I refused to kill that many brain cells.
I was working.
Who's the one female candidate? She surprised me.
Haley? Nikki Haley? That sound right?
Nikki Haley, yeah. She surprised me because she did not go full on ultra MAGA. She kind of dialed it back a bit. It did kind of piss me off because it was like, oh, who's going to raise their hand when he asked the question?
Yeah.
That pissed me off so fucking much because you could tell nobody wanted to raise their hand.
No.
Nobody wants to support that Cheeto.
No, I think Vivek Ramaswamy, I think his hand shot up immediately. And then I forgot, like, I think after his hand shot up...
That's optics. That is optics.
No, sure.
He just wants to be in the good graces.
But his hand shot up, and then a few other people's hands shot up. I think, like, Scott's hand went up. I think Nikki Haley's hand went up. I think it was Pence kind of looked around and was like, well, okay, well, they're raising their hands. And then he raised his hands, and then DeSantis did the same thing. Where he kind of was like, okay, they're raising their hands, I'm raising my hand.
You want to talk about fucking sheep, man.
Yeah. I like... He's not going to win because he's not going to appeal to the base. But I'd vote for Chris Christie.
So would I, because he seems to be the only guy that's willing to not deal with Trump's bullshit.
Well, and the thing about Chris Christie...
bullshit.
Yeah, and the thing about Chris Christie, which I respect, I don't agree with a lot of his... Not even a lot, but some of his policy ideas. But so when you have a discussion... This is something I wanted to talk about, too, for a while. It's kind of like the itch. It's like, let's do a fucking show. Let's record. You can't come to the table for a conversation if you don't live in the same world of reality.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
You can't do it. Like, for instance, I've been abstaining or doing my best to abstain from political conversations on Facebook. It's an addiction of mine. It gets me going, but it's useless. And so I've been trying to abstain from it. But I try to have a good conversation with this guy who's super MAGA. And I was like, hey, you know what, if you want to have a conversation about this thing, because he sent like me a video clip that I watched, and I was like, I'll have a conversation with you if it's in good faith. And he's like, yeah, let's talk about it. I would love having a conversation with you. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. He's like, yeah, let's talk about how the Democrats are satanic. And I was like, okay, I can't. Like, that's right off the bat. I was like, that's not going to be a productive conversation. And so if your mindset is still Trump won the election in 2020 and it was rigged, if that's your mindset,
president now.
Or whatever numerous fucking weird things that they believe. When I say they, I mean MAGA. I don't want to confuse conservatives and Republicans with MAGA. Yeah. We're strictly talking about MAGA here, which is the majority of Republicans, fortunately, or at least allegedly. So if you're living in a reality where you believe that election was stolen, regardless of facts, regardless of the lack of evidence, regardless of... I don't even know what else to say. Like, you're not living in reality. If you are an evangelical who thinks that Trump is your guy, not Pence, not Tim Scott, Trump is your guy as an evangelical, a guy who's twice divorced, cheated.
Thrice?
Twice divorced. He has 3 wives, so twice divorced.
Okay.
Cheated on every single wife. Is a glutton, pretty much guilty of every one of the 7 deadly sins. That's the evangelical choice? Like, you're not living in the same reality as I am.
You're not even living in a Christian utopian reality at that point.
But that's my point. Like, so, and that's where, like, that moment was so telling to where, one, this guy is like the cult leader of the party. And despite everything he's going through, which we're going to get to, I had that written down, you would still fucking support him, even if he was convicted. Like, at what point is it just like, yo, you need to hard reboot your party?
Yeah. What's funny about that, and we'll get into this a little bit more, is like, I recently found a clip from the 2016 election. I couldn't tell you her name because I don't watch Fox News and I don't even buy into their bullshit. But she's one of their pundits, and she was talking about how, like, we cannot have anybody who's even been indicted on crimes as president, even if they're not true, even if they're just indicted, even if they go to court, we can't have them be president. I'm like, where's that bitch now?
Well, dude, if you go back to 2015, 2016, it's a complete. There's a clip of Marco Rubio. And I know if Mitch was on here right now, he would kind of push back on me on this. And hey, he couldn't make it. We invited him. But Marco Rubio came out, and this was not your typical mudslinging in elections, where then when the primary's over, everyone's like, all right, shake hands. Marco Rubio came out, And he was pretty much saying, this man is a con man, a known con man for years in New York, and he's taking over the conservative movement, and he's going to poison it, and he's going to destroy it, and he's going to contaminate it, and we have to stop him. He's going to take our party and destroy it and ruin it. And you fast forward, and you're like, dude, Rubio, you were 100% correct. But now Rubio and the rest of these guys are too afraid of the base to where they can't say that anymore.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because, I've said, the only party I've ever registered for on purpose was Republican Party when I was 18. Since then, I've been independent, or I'll register for the party whose primary is coming up, just so I can vote in it. Mm-hmm. So it does pain me as that's the only party I've ever wanted to register for, and it's like, this is what you are now. Like, you can't.
That's just the thing. It's not the Conservative Party anymore.
No,
it just isn't. There's no values of the Conservative Party that current Republicans adhere to.
Let's say Republican leadership.
Yes. Okay, true.
Like the everyday Republican, Mitch has values. Mitch has principles. Yes. Everyday Republicans, yes. Leadership, no.
No. They have no platform other than let's go after the Dems. Let's bring down the Dems. That's it. That is their platform.
And the thing is, I know you're a liberal, you're a Democrat. Cool. I don't consider myself liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I don't consider myself liberal, but that's not even a partisan talking point. That's just fact. That's truth.
Yeah.
I get called a libtard for saying that. And it's like, no, I have two sisters, right? You have two siblings. Growing up, if they got into a fight, and I told my mom, no, she's at fault this time around, I didn't love her less or anything. I wasn't taking sides. It was like, this is the fact. It's her fault. And that's the same thing now. It's not a partisan to point out that these motherfuckers are out of their mind right now. And the ones, and the proof of it is Liz Cheney, in my opinion. And I'm sure you have your finger on the pulse much more than I do. But the whole thing that happened with Liz Cheney is proof that party is broken, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. As a reminder to people, Liz Cheney had the audacity, the sin, to simply say that Donald Trump didn't win the election in 2020, which caused her to be voted out of her leadership position in the House, and then she got primaried, and then she lost her spot in the House. All because she lived in reality. Whoa. That's what you do. All right. Anyway, back to it. My Republican choice right now would either be Chris Christie if he was out. I liked Vivek Ramaswamy at first until I started actually listening to him.
Yeah, okay.
No, because he's one of those guys. So a podcaster I listened to actually interviewed him, and then he reviewed himself on how he handled the interview, and he actually made this point too. When Vivek Ramaswamy talks, is it Vivek or Vivek?
I don't know. I don't care.
I don't want to say his name wrong. Just trying to be respectful. When he does the fast talk thing, to where it sounds good. It sounds good. Like, he sounds confident. This must be true. This must be true. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. And then once you stop, you're like, wait a second. Wait, what? You know what I mean? So he sounds good. So at first I was kind of like, oh, this guy might have something going on. And then actually when I put the words together, I was like, oh, never mind.
It's the Ben Shapiro effect, man. You talk fast enough hoping that, the big words make you sound important and intelligent, but nobody pieces together what you're actually saying.
And I think there's another term, I think it's called a gish gallop, I'm not sure, where the metaphor is if you're running around setting a dozen small fires, it's much easier to set those fires than somebody running behind you trying to put them out.
Yeah.
So if you're going fast talking, dropping as many points as you can, the person interviewing you, the person you're debating, it's much harder for them to counter every single point you try to make. So it looks like you won.
Yeah.
And he's very good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say Chris Christie. On the other, I actually didn't mind Nikki Haley. She even made a point about abortion I liked. To where it was kind of the middle ground. Where she's like, I'm pro-life, I'm this, I'm that. But we have to take into consideration X, Y, Z. All right.
The cat's unhappy.
Say the old fiance's mad.
Oh, you better hope she doesn't hear that. She's gonna come for you.
All right, and then the last thing. So in our group chat, I've been messaging a lot like, hey, can anyone record? Anyone want to record? Let's talk about shit. And it's obviously been about the Trump shit. The indictments, all that. And I'll let you just go, Danny. What do you think? What do you think about all this? What's your opinions that you've been itching to state?
My opinion is that this is not, nor has it ever been, a witch hunt. This is the justice system working. For one, it can't be a witch hunt because first of all, he hasn't been found guilty of anything yet. It will be a witch hunt if he is burned at the stake for doing nothing. That is the definition of a witch hunt.
Yeah.
Okay. If the evidence, obviously there was enough evidence for a grand jury in districts that are heavily conservative. There was enough evidence for a grand jury in those districts to arrest him and indict him on charges. So clearly not a witch hunt. That's all I can say at this point until we talk about it some more. I'm just really pissed off with people that keep referring to it as a witch hunt. It's not. It has never been a witch hunt. If he broke the law, then it's a witch hunt. Or then then it's not a witch hunt.
No, I understand. I understood. I kind of like, wait. Yeah, the comparison that I'm not sure if I've said this before on the show, but the comparison that I've kind of made to someone was there's this chick. I won't say her name. Let's just say her name's Mary. When I was a senior in high school, Mary was not that Mary. Don't worry.
Okay.
Mary was a freshman when I was a senior, and we kind of met doing drama. And she was kind of a buddy, you know. Mm-hmm. Don't turn your head because then you go fuzzy in the background. But yeah, so she was kind of a buddy, you know, like I would see her at parties and shit, and it was whatever. And Mary, I don't want to sound like a shamer, but she was a bit of a slut, a little bit of a whore, and she got around, and she would. You have a cat. It's fine.
I'm in the room. This is her.
Your stomach's growling. It's all right.
Yeah.
That's your stomach growling. But so Mary would constantly bitch about how she can't get away from the drama. Why does the drama follow her? Blah 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 blah. And to me, if someone's complaining about how drama follows them, it's kind of a red flag to me. But you know, she's a friend of mine. I was like, yeah, you know, it sucks. Whatever. Fast forward a few years. I'm 21. I moved to Las Vegas for college. Mary happened to move there as she graduated high school. She graduated high school. She moved to Las Vegas. I guess her mom lived up there. So at first, like, besides her and someone else, like another guy who moved from Rancho to there, those were my own two friends, right? So I'm hanging out with the bitch. And when we would hang out, every now and then she's like, yeah, I just can't fucking get out of this drama with this guy or this guy and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just kind of like, this sounds so familiar. What has changed since the last time I saw you in high school? And sure enough, fast forward, because I would hang out with her, some shit happened to where I was like, I can't hang out with this bitch anymore. She was just crazy. And then a friend of mine in the theater department was like, this is like a year or two later when I actually had friends in Vegas, you know. He's like, hey, I bumped into an old friend of yours. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I was at some party. Do you know Mary? I was like, oh yeah, I know Mary. He's like, yeah, she's kind of a fucking weirdo. But somehow your name came up. And I was like, okay, cool. How is she? And he's like, she's a fucking weirdo. And I was like, what happened? Apparently Mary was sitting on some guy's lap making out with him. And then she got a phone call. So she was still sitting on this guy's lap, took the phone call. And apparently it was her friend at a different party saying that her boyfriend was making out with some chick. And Mary started crying. I can't believe he would do this to me. And that's what it was my friend Justin who from Vegas. Shout out Justin if you're listening. He was like, he's like, kind of blew my mind. This bitch was on the couch making out with this guy, and she started crying because she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. And I couldn't help but think in my head, like, yeah, that sounds about right for her. Drama's following me everywhere. Now, come bring it back around to Trump. I feel the same way. where it's like if you're bitching all the time about how they're coming after me, what are you like? They just don't come after you, right? Mm-hmm. So even like let's flip the table. Hillary Clinton, who I despise. Conservatives, Republicans went after her hard for the emails, Benghazi, etc. Granted, I think a lot of it was not in good faith, but at least there was something to go after. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying I agree with it, but like Benghazi, okay, she was kind of attached to that loosely, so let's go after her. Granted, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with it, but at least there was something to go off of. But with Trump, it's like, what are you talking about, dude? There are things here. They're not inventing things out of thin air. These are things you did. And when people say this is unprecedented, this has never happened before. Why now? Why Trump? It's because they're afraid. No, it's unprecedented because Trump put himself in an unprecedented situation. New inputs provide new outputs. This is unprecedented, but that doesn't mean it's not legitimate. Mm-hmm. And I think it's easier if you're someone who's distrusting of liberals to scapegoat it as a witch hunt and rather just go, hey, this guy's a fucking crook.
Yeah.
Allegedly. He hasn't been convicted yet. Allegedly. Anyway.
Yes. But I mean, what's funny is like the dude has like, I'm curious if he's ever won a lawsuit he's been implicated in.
Go on.
Because him and his father were both sued, I want to say in the 70s or 80s, for housing violations because they wouldn't rent to black people. They lost that case. This E. Jean Carroll case, where he defamed E. Jean Carroll, lost that case, and just recently, within this last week, lost another case with E. Jean Carroll because he kept defaming her after the judge said, stop it, pay her. Mm-hmm. If you do it again, you're going to pay her more. And he kept defaming her. Like, the guy is a magnet for litigation.
Yeah, and kind of, I think I've brought this up before while we recorded. I had a professor who once said, watch what you say if you want to be famous, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you, let's magnify that. If you want to be the president of the United States, you can't fuck around and find out, because you will find out. Mm-hmm. So you are, and let's be clear on this, I actually have not liked Trump before he was even a candidate. I've watched like 2 episodes of The Apprentice, and I was like, this guy's a fucking asshole. Anyway, so this guy's already known. I've read about this. Like, people in New York thought he was a fucking joke. Like, real business people are like, this guy's a fucking joke. Blah, 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 blah. That's why he got picked to do The Apprentice, because the real business people are like, nah, we're good. Mm-hmm. And so he's already kind of a con man. He wouldn't pay his bills. He'd dick people over all the time. And he wants to run for president. If you have skeletons in your closet, the last thing you want to fucking do is run for president.
Yeah.
Because people on both sides will dig up fucking everything. So are you surprised that they started coming at you hard? Let's rewind it for a second, too. Jump in any time, because I'll talk for hours. Okay. This whole thing, even while he was president, like, he's picking on him. The media's being rough on him. It's like, dude, they're literally just reporting what you say.
Yeah.
You say X, Y, and Z. CNN comes out. Today, Trump said this. They're fucking picking on him. What?
No.
There was a hearing, I forgot when it was, a few years back, where the House, I think it was talking about how Google search results were showing negative things about Republicans and positive things about Democrats. And I forgot the guy's name. I think he was an Asian guy, Lou in the House. I think it was him that said something like, if you want positive results on Google, how about you just do positive things? It was funny. If you believe it or not, it was funny either way. But no, so it's been a weird thing to where, like, that's where I referred to my friend, I almost said her name, my friend Mary from high school, then in Vegas. It's like, if you continue doing these things and people are just acknowledging that, are you surprised at the outcome? Mm-hmm. Like, if I was a public figure and I just walked around and started smacking everybody across the head on the street, you don't think people are eventually going to start taking photos of me? Taking videos? Posting that shit? And then once all that shit gets posted, they'll be like, oh, it's just a fucking witch hunt. They're all just trying to defame me. They're trying to come after me. They're afraid of me.
It's fake. It's CGI.
It's just fucking weird to me, dude. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's so... I just wonder how people look at him and be like, wow. Because people have said he's like the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, we talked like the evangelicals. Like, what the fuck?
And it's like, how?
And you know what? I would almost get it if for some reason, let's say, okay, it's 2020. He loses the election. He goes away for a while. Allegedly. In 2022, he comes back on the scene, and he's calm. And he's like, you know what? I've taken the last couple of years to reflect, to really pray, to really find God, and I'd like to run again and do better. I could see people going, redemption story.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't happen, obviously, because he's a fucking narcissist. But if something like that happened, I could see it being like a redemption story. Like, oh, shit. Like, he's a changed man. Maybe he will do better. Like, I could see that. And I think we have maybe discussed this in private. I'm not sure on the air. I'm not saying I agree, but I understood a Trump vote in 2016.
So did I.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understood it.
I understood it.
Yeah, in 2020, I didn't understand it.
Let me wind that back. I understood a conservative vote. I don't understand a Trump vote.
Let me rephrase. I understood an anti-Hillary Clinton vote.
There we go.
That's what I was getting at. I understood that. As someone who could not vote for Hillary Clinton, I understood that. Didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Clinton. My vote didn't matter. Yeah, and so I didn't get it in 2020. I'm not going to say that. I could understand the anti-Biden vote. But I 100% don't get it now. I do not understand how that man is polling the majority of Republicans want him. I don't get that at all.
He does not stand by your values. Unless your values are give all my money to the people who already have most of the money and fuck the Democrats. Cool. All right. But say that. Don't hide behind your shield of faith and say that this guy represents me, because he doesn't. On any metric you use, this guy does not represent you. He does not know you, nor does he care about you. He does not represent you. He represents his interests.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's use Mitch as an example. It's a positive example. Mitch has said on here, Mitch, I'm quoting Mitch. He has said that Herschel Walker was the worst Republican candidate since Donald Trump. So Mitch, a hard conservative, right-winger, good guy, says that he voted for Trump. And he says, it's not that I like Trump. It's that with him in the office, he will push conservative things, conservative policies. The thing is, if whether or not we agree with it, Mitch has acknowledged that he's not a good man, but he doesn't want a liberal. He doesn't want to support liberal policy. I don't agree with it. I try to vote for like the man, the person, and their conduct. But we can disagree on that. But he's one of those people. He acknowledges that Trump is not a good guy. Anyway, back to the lawsuits. What's your opinion? What do you think the lawsuit's going to be that takes him down?
Well, it's not going to be a lawsuit. It's going to be a criminal trial.
That's what I mean. Which one do you think is going to take him down? Like the big one.
Obviously, it's going to be the documents case, or if they actually do, because they are. I know. Yeah, he was indicted for the January 6th thing. That one's going to be a little bit harder to prove and convince a jury.
I agree.
Because it's all verbal. There's no like proof of him saying, "Go overthrow the government." It's all nuanced there. Whereas the document case, hard proof, hard evidence, videotape footage, documents found at his property, especially after he is recorded as saying, "I don't have anything." and then, you know, a little bit later saying, hey, look, I actually do have this, but they don't want me to tell you that I have this.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people that say, well, Biden and Pence both had documents, should they go too? Biden and Pence were never investigated for documents. They found documents in their possession and immediately reported it and said, hey, if you guys want to come to our house to make sure we missed anything, please do. We'll open it up for you.
Yeah, I heard it compared to if Pence or Biden woke up and found a dead body in their house. They called the police and said, oh my God, there's a dead body in my house. Can you come get it? If Trump found the dead body in his house, he goes, move the body in the basement, move the body in the basement. There's 2 bodies. Put one in the bathroom, put one in the basement. Do not call the police. Oh, they're calling us? Give them the body in the bathroom. Don't tell them about the body in the basement. To where immediately everyone's like, what? Like, why are you so concerned? Why is this a thing? Just give them the bodies. No, that's my body. The one in the basement's mine. It's like, what?
I could have declassified it. I thought I did just by thinking it. But yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Not specifically the declassification thing. So I've been watching, listening to the news while I drive a little bit. Mainly CNN. They seem to have their heads on straight. MSNBC's a little too hard left for me. I've given up on Fox News years ago. And there's some random podcasts.
The BBC.
I haven't tried PBC yet. I've heard good things. Anyway.
I tried BBC.
So, and Trump, I think, is smart for this, unfortunately, because his base isn't, and they eat it up. This idea that, so one of the, I should have written this down, the list. One of the things is I can declassify anything by simply thinking it or saying it. When I take it with me, it's automatically declassified. That's obviously bullshit.
Well, yeah, it's the scene from The Office, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I declare. But like having mediocre media literacy and critical thinking in the top of your head, they're like, no, that's not right. That can't be right.
Yeah.
You can take it with you, but it's still classified.
Yeah. There's a whole process in the government, and that's what the people that were looking for the documents, that's their area of expertise.
Yes.
That's what they wanted to do. It's like, hey, if you want to declassify anything, there's a process you need to go through before you take it.
Yes.
Otherwise, you need to give it back to us.
And so, yeah, so what Trump's doing right now, him and his lawyers, which I think, again, they're doing a smart thing because their base is dumb, unfortunately. They are doing the court of public opinion thing to where they're making all these arguments that are legally baseless on the news and in public and on Truth Social that will not hold up in a courtroom. But they're saying them out loud so that other people hear them and believe it. And people are eating this shit up. Yep. Like that one. I could declassify anything I want. No, you can't. It's bullshit. But they're eating it up.
Yeah.
And that argument will not hold up in court.
No.
What's another one? When it comes to the January 6th, the not specifically January 6th, but the whole fake electors scheme, that whole thing. The Georgia one and the Washington one. What's the talking point? They're coming after me because they're coming after my right to speech.
Oh, yeah. I just made a phone call. I asked a question.
That I was just expressing my disapproval of the election. I believed it was stolen. I was expressing that. They're indicting me for using my free speech. In that indictment, it was the Washington one. In that indictment, on page 1, it says this is not about free speech.
No.
Donald Trump is welcome to say anything he wants about the election, even if it's false.
Unless it's in a conspiracy to commit a crime.
And it goes into that. But in that indictment, it says like he can lie and say false things. That's fine. But once that free speech turns to action, it becomes a crime. The normal example, you can't yell fire in a movie theater.
Yeah. Because then you create a panic.
It's not protected. I think a person made a joke about like if you got arrested for trying to rob the bank and you were like, it's just my free speech. I was just yelling at her to give me all the money. Like, no, that it's not protected, obviously. It's kind of a silly example, but yeah. So that's an argument. They're coming after my free speech. No. But people are eating that shit up.
Yeah.
Another one.
It's It's like if you commit a crime, right? If you are, let's say, if you're planning to rob a bank, right, and you are at a McDonald's, talking to your crew about robbing the bank. Yeah, you were just having a conversation with your friends, but that is admissible evidence in court that shows that there was planning and a conspiracy to commit that crime.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what they are subpoenaing right now. Are those conversations? Are those phone calls?
Mm-hmm.
It's a conspiracy to commit a crime.
That's the whole RICO thing, yeah.
That's the RICO thing.
Yeah, and I just that's the only thing that concerns me is that they're throwing all these fake arguments out for the people to hear. This happened in 2020 when they were doing the lawsuits about the election. Giuliani and all these people were saying all this crazy shit on the news. And I don't remember exactly, but when Giuliani was in the courtroom, he didn't use one argument that he said on the news.
No.
Because he was fighting two battles. The the court of public opinion and the legal court. Court of public opinion, you could lie your ass off. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But in the courtroom, he couldn't use those arguments.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing here. And it's kind of dumb, too, because, like, if I was driving my car and I was going 95, and I text you very responsibly text you going 95 in my car. I was like, yeah, I'm going 95. I bet a fucking cop's going to pull me over if he sees me. Half hour later, you found I got pulled over and got a speeding ticket. And then I told you, see what I tell you, I was right. It's all a conspiracy. Because like Trump said, like he made predictions about him getting indicted, and he's like, "See, I told you, it's all a conspiracy." And it's like, no, dude, like you're predicting the obvious. Sorry.
He's just like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do a crime. Watch them come after me." It's
yeah,
no fucking shit. You
did
a crime.
Even
stop doing crimes.
Yeah, this was like a few months ago. He was like, "Watch, they're gonna indict Hunter Biden just to show, like, to pretend that they're like, it's balanced." And it's like, well, Hunter Biden was under investigation already. So it would make sense if they indicted him on something.
And here's the thing. Why was it part of, like, why was he on trial was it the Senate or Congress? He never had a government job. He was never in the White House.
Well, my point being was that Biden wasn't being investigated by the DOJ for, like, the tax shit.
Uh-huh.
Like, that was a thing. But Trump was like, watch, they're going to indict him to show how balanced they are. It's just a ruse to show, like, oh, see, we're getting both sides of it. And it's like, dude, he was under investigation. Of course he's going to get indicted. But he used that obvious fact to, like, strengthen this conspiracy theory. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you make obvious predictions in support of your conspiracy, and those predictions come true, and then you're like, see, I told you. And it's like, no, like that was going to happen. If I was like, hey, Danny, big daylight, they're going to make the sunrise tomorrow. Then the sun rises tomorrow, and I'm like, see, what the fuck did I tell you? The fuck did I tell you, Danny? Big daylight's after us. I don't know. But, like, my point is, if you make obvious predictions in support of your conspiracy, like, you're full of shit, but people are buying it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Just don't vote for Trump. Get another guy.
You have what were there, like 9 candidates? Each one
at least
so much better in some way.
Yeah, even the nutty ones I would take Chris Christie. I think Chris Christie is the only one I would vote over Biden. I wish the Democrats would have we'll finish on this. I wish the Democrats would have primaried Biden. Mm-hmm. I think Biden's a decent person. I just think, like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, you
too old. We need to stop electing geriatrics.
Yeah, and I hate to say it like that, but, like, if it's Trump versus Biden again, I'm not gonna vote. I probably just won't vote. I mean, we live in California, like, it's gonna fucking matter anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. Granted, on paper,
like asking you, how do you want to die? A bullet to the head or strangulation?
Yeah, one might be a little less painful, but I just, like, they should have primaried him.
Yeah. What pissed me off too was, like, there was no, like, there were polls that showed Bernie ahead of everyone, and, like, that's not a better option. Like, the guy's still fucking ancient. But the guy has been doing this like his whole life. He had good ideas.
No, I was definitely on the Bernie train.
Yeah.
And the difference is, and I'm going to pick on Biden for a minute, kind of unfairly, if I will say, Bernie is old, but Bernie is still sharp, and he's well-spoken, and he can think on his feet. Biden, and I'm not going to try to sound like one of those fucking people, Biden can't even fucking talk, senile. But he's up there. And I said it before, there's two jobs of the presidency. There's the governor and the diplomat. The governor sets policy, and the diplomat represents us. And I'm sorry, but I think Biden and Trump both failed in that regard in different ways. Biden does not represent us well. When like he very like unless it's scripted, he can't think on his feet that well. He mumbles in his words, and granted, I know he has a stutter. He struggles with a stutter, so I'm not trying to like shame him on that, but regardless, he still stumbles on his words like and what to say. And the motherfucker falls. The motherfucker falls. Like
a lot. I think it's an inner ear thing.
Yeah, even if the policies are good, he doesn't look good. And again, granted, like I said, Trump failed in that regard too for a completely different reason. I call it the tale of two grandpas. So yeah, I would have preferred Newsom versus DeSantis over Trump versus Biden.
We're gonna get that, I think, in 2028.
I would say 2028 too. I was a fan of DeSantis at first, not so much anymore. Newsom, he's growing on me.
Yeah.
I didn't like him a lot, but he's slowly growing on me.
Yeah.
For actually, it's such a petty reason. You know Evans Brewing in Corona?
No, I don't. But go ahead.
So they're a brewery that does bring politics into their beer. It happens. They made a beer called the Govern Hater, and on the can was like this art drawing of Newsom with like horns.
Of course.
And something else. And it was a double hazy IPA. I didn't know this. So I watched that interview with Hannity that did with Newsom.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch that?
Yeah.
Good interview. And hey, Newsom held his own. Newsom did great in that interview. And so recently, a conservative friend of mine was talking to me, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, Newsom actually went to that brewery." And so I don't have verification of this. I can't verify it, but according to this story, he told me that Newsom heard about that beer, it made him laugh, and he went down to the brewery so that he could buy a 4-pack. Allegedly. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But if that's true, I think that's fucking great.
No, that's awesome.
That he was like, oh, that's fucking funny, and he actually went down and supported the business. Granted, like I said, some of the COVID shit I could do without. Mm-hmm. But he's growing on me. But I would rather see, like I said, not a huge fan of either one, but like I would rather see a DeSantis versus Newsom.
Yeah.
Because at least they're young. Apparently they're going to just have a debate. Did you hear about that?
I did. I have been hearing things about this, yes.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
And I would love for Greg Abbott to get involved too.
Sure.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
No, he's not going to beat it. All right, so last thought. If you could pick any Democrat, well, one, pick your Republican, and then pick your Democrat that should primary Biden.
Republican, I'm just going to go ahead and say Nikki Haley. She was the one that impressed me the most
in
that debate. Two, Democrat. I'm going to get shit for this. I'd like to see AOC make a run.
I don't think she's old enough yet.
Neither do I, but I'm just like in 2030.
Right now. Right now.
Mm-hmm. Fuck. Swalwell.
Which one's Swalwell?
He's from California. He's a representative, senator. I think it's a representative.
Let me Google.
Or Katie Porter. Fuck yeah, let's do Katie Porter too. I like Katie Porter. She's from my district, baby. Orange. Woo-hoo.
Oh, that guy. Okay. I don't mind that guy.
Swalwell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mind that guy. So I would say yes, either Nikki Haley or Chris Christie. My Democrat, I'm gonna put Newsom aside. I wouldn't mind Swalwell. I like Jamie Raskin.
I like Jimmy Raskin too, but dude, he might not be around for much longer.
Hey. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. For those who don't know, Jamie Raskin is being treated for cancer. He looks dope with the bandana over his head, though.
Yeah, every time he's in Congress, I'm just like, this fool's going to pull a gun any second.
He does look gangster. Now, I would say, no, because Raskin, he comes to the table pretty logically. Anytime I see clips of him, he's pretty level-headed, logical. So I would pick probably him.
Yeah.
Although I do think, again, I have my issues with him. I think Newsom, you're right, 28, Newsom's running.
Yeah.
And I think he has the personality for it.
I think he said that. Or that's like the scuttlebutt. That he's definitely going to be running.
Well, I know in the Handy interview, Handy said, "Has anyone gotten in your ear about running?" And he refused to answer the question. He kept pivoting.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. Yeah, he did say he would not run against Biden. He would not primary Biden. That's all he would say. And it's like, okay, this motherfucker's running.
Yeah.
Kind of like when DeSantis 6 months ago or whenever it was, like, are you going to run? He's like, I'm not in the race yet. I'm not a candidate. And it's like, motherfucker, you're doing international tours. You're running. Like,
yeah.
All right. That's it. Any last thoughts?
No, I think we got it covered.
All right. That's our current events. Maybe you'll see us next week. Maybe you'll see us 3 weeks from now. Maybe next year. But when we find the need to talk about some shit again, we'll come back on here and talk some shit. I'm sure if Mitch listens to this, he'll want to talk. Yep. So I'm sure he has some thoughts about what we've said. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, maybe you'll see us soon. All right. Thank you so much for listening. And we're out.
Adios.
Recording stopped. Stop recording. There we go.